Hi everybody, welcome to the Spin Cycle podcast, the podcast that talks to the personalities, the groups and the brands that make London and the UK an incredible place to be a cyclist. Today we've got two special guests. We've got Jon and Ben from Trashmile. Jon, Ben, welcome to the podcast.
Hey,
thank you.
Thanks for having
Nice
us.
to be here.
So typically we break the podcast into three sections. The first one is getting to know you, getting to know your thing, and then we'll jump to the Q&A for section 3. Jon, maybe we'll start with you. Why don't you give us a bit of background and the listeners guess who you are as a person and maybe how you got into cycling?
Yeah, hi, I'm Jon. I'm an architect and sort of got into cycling through just sort of messing around on bikes from a very, very young age. I remember one of my first sort of memories is my dad doing a no-handed track stand on his mountain bike with the bars turned 90 degrees, sort of moving the wheel left and right with his feet and thinking that was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. So, then obviously we had to go to the bike shop, pick me out a bike that was the same color as his. So, because if my bike was the same color, that meant I could do a no-handed track stand. Obviously not exactly how it works. And then since then, it's just been whatever's the most convenient bike for wherever I'm living and whatever I'm doing. So it's been mountain bikes, sort of, dirt jumping and, going to the rec and building dirt jumps every day after school, sort of 13 to 16, brief hiatus getting into cars, but I'll let Ben talk about cars more. And then bit of trials biking and then BMXing, a sort of very ill-fated attempt at BMXing, which didn't go very well. I just ended up hurting myself a lot, falling off, landing on my face, that sort of thing. Wasn't very good at BMXing.
Was that like BMX racing like you have in the Olympics, or was it more BMXing where it's like up and down half pipes? It
was street because I was cool and I wanted to wear my baggy jeans that got caught in the chain and Vans eras with sort of tire burn marks on the soles because I didn't have brakes on it, that sort of thing. Pretending to do grinds on rails but actually just falling off. And then road biking started because I moved to London, missed having a bike, so got a sort of 400 quid charge single speed, everyone's gateway drug into road bikes, and then it kind of just spiraled from there, and here we are with all the bikes in the office and a very unhappy wife.
And what about the no-handed track stand? Did you ever live up to expectations on that?
I can do a one-handed track stand on a track bike, sitting down, but no-handed track stands, no, can't do it. So I failed on that one.
Can your dad still do it?
Good question. Probably not. I think his knees and his back have put paid to that, unfortunately.
And Ben, how about yourself?
My story is very similar to Jon's. I think a lot of people's it starts that way, like dad or some sort, or like a bigger brother or something. My dad bought my mum a mountain bike. It was a Diamondback, because he wanted to get into cycling but didn't want to buy himself a Diamondback because he knew he'd want something better. So bought my mum a bike.
In size 56.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was amazing. Black, neon, everything. Like, this was kind of 90, I reckon it was probably early 90s. Might have even been 93 or something like that. Bought him a bike, and I remember me and my little brother chasing him on our little bikes, and it was like a skid compositions, things like this. Like, my dad putting massive skids on this Diamondback. And I grew up in Swindon, so we had quite a lot of like trails and the Ridgeway, so a lot of off-road opportunities. He went out and did things like that sort of stuff. and I followed that basically. So when I was 10, they bought me my first proper mountain bike. My mum used to drive me up to the Ridgeway to meet my dad halfway through his ride. I'd do about, I don't know, like 10 miles with him, trying to chase him up hills, chewing the stem. I still remember the sticker on the stem, the chromo sticker I had that I used to read over and over again, hating everything about what I was doing at the time, just trying to chase my dad up this hill. And that's where it started, really. And then that bike, I lived with that bike till I was about 16. And it went from being a mountain bike that fit me, upgraded like RockShox GD race forks. Then it kind of was too small for me, so it turned into a trials bike, and I did a lot of trials, like Martin Ashton, Martin Hayes sort of wannabe. And I still have that bike. It's still in the shed, in various different areas of the shed, all sorts of pieces. But I got massively, once I kind of moved away from trials, I got massively into skateboarding. I skateboarded until I was about 22, and then started fixed gear riding. And then there was a situation on Old Street Roundabout where somebody had an accident with a pedestrian, and the police really clamped down on brakeless bikes. And I was just like, do you know what? This is daft now. Like, there's people getting stopped for not having brakes. So I was commuting on this low pro old Greek track bike that was supposed to be in. There's a big story about this bike, but it's supposed to be in the Olympics, never made it. So it was used as a Greek Olympic team like training bike. So I was commuting on this thing, which was ridiculous. Decided it was stupid. So bought a road bike, bought an Orbea Orca from a well-known high street cycling company. Yep. And that was it. Then I met these guys. I met John, a couple of other friends from different cycle clubs, and that was it. And it was road bikes from there. So that's.
So I've got two things to add to that. First of all, I can't believe you've got Swindon in this early in the podcast. Unbelievable. all the Trash Mile family will appreciate the Swindon chat this early on in the podcast. Yeah. The second one, I haven't really realised how much our parents were really played such an instrumental part in our getting into cycling. Because I remember my mum used to take me in the car down to Penshurst Off-Road Cycling Club, which doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. It's called, I forgot what it's called now. It's this really fancy kind of yoga retreat down in the Kent Lanes. It might be called Archive, something like that. Kingdom. It's called Kingdom. There you go. It's called Kingdom. And back when my mum used to take me there in the depths of winter, it was a sort of downhill dirt jump course, and you could get a pot noodle and 2 slices of Hovis for £1.
Nice.
And now you're talking about kind of soy flat whites and smashed Strava on toast for £15. It's totally different, right? You actually the decking that you sit on out the side is the landing of the huge tabletop jump that used to go past the cafe. So every time we go, I delight in telling everyone that I used to smash it down there on a downhill bike, and they can't believe it whilst they're sat there on their fancy, delicate road bikes. But yeah, it's sort of, that's what we did. That's, when you were sort of 13, 14, 15, that's just you used to ride around with your shovel sort of on the handlebars with a really cheap bottle of Cherryade or Coke from Tesco, and you'd go to the woods and you'd build trails and dirt jumps. That was, there was no other source of entertainment. That's what we did, and it was great, absolutely fantastic. Just covered in mud all the time. You learn to fall off a lot as well when you learn how to crash when you're dirt jumping.
Yeah, mine was more trials, so it was more jumping off of walls and things like that and going through back wheels. But it's a similar idea. We just didn't have that many forests in my. You had to find it was all. I don't know if you've been to Swindon at all. I don't know why you would, but it's It's very
kind of,
like,
from what I understand, it's a bit kind of sprawling metropolis, kind of Neo Tokyo environment, right? So real underground belly of the trials, mountain biking scene, right? Yeah.
You've really made it sound incredibly glamorous there.
Yeah, it's a bit like Blade Runner. Inspirations were taken from Blade Runner from there, I heard.
Yeah, I also think you might be the second guest from Swindon on the show as well.
Oh, no way.
Really?
Unbelievable. It's spreading.
All the legends come from Swindon, but none of them stay there.
Let's all just
spread the great word of Swindon.
Yeah.
Far and wide.
Is it like I was born in Swindon but made in the Royal Navy? Is that kind of thing?
That's it. Yeah, it's exactly that. I mean, I spent less time in Swindon than I have done in London, so I don't know why I'm so like. Well, if I didn't mention it, everyone would be really upset that I didn't mention that. That's what I'm from.
You're obsessed with your roots. The best thing about the trials era, though, was definitely the Magura HS22.
Yeah, I got some
in bright neon yellow.
Got those.
And if anyone doesn't know what they are, look them up. They were the coolest things ever.
You had to have them if you had. Yeah, they were the only ones to run. They're brilliant.
Hydraulic rim brakes. You had to have a sort of bridge booster on your forks because they were so powerful that they bend the top of your forks out if you pulled them too hard.
My hands weren't strong enough for that, so I didn't need to worry about it. But the noise, there's a specific noise. You could hear them a mile off. It's just like that was. Yeah. You needed it. I wasn't good enough for anything more than V brakes, but you needed that. Like it wasn't a trials bike if you didn't have those, as far as I was concerned.
Yeah. They used to grind down the rims and put glue on them as well, didn't they? So that they, when you pulled those brakes, that wheel would stop dead because it was all about like hopping around on the back wheel and riding along tiny little skinny things that were narrower than your tires. It's kind of quite a uniquely British thing, I think. Trials riding. It doesn't really exist anymore, but I remember going to the bike show at the NEC when I was much younger, and they had like a trials demonstration thing, and these guys could like bunny hop their own height. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was so good.
Like they were levitating and sort of riding 10 foot up in the air on a sort of scaffolding pole and then hopping on the back wheel along different pylons to get down to the ground. It was pretty crazy, to be honest.
It was wild.
Cool.
Yeah, you learn a lot of backhanding skills from that kind of, growing up like that, doing that sort of thing, and dirt jump and good times.
Yeah, I guess to summarize, it's just been bikes pretty much since I can remember, to be honest. I think same for you, Ben. Bikes just always there. Yeah.
How did I guess as we're talking about origins, how did you two first meet? As you briefly mentioned it earlier, but it'd be nice to know how you first met and became friends.
In the mecca of London cycling that is Regent's Park.
Hey, come on.
Yeah.
Was it Wednesday mornings, John, that we used to do?
Yeah, it was fast laps, wasn't it, on a Wednesday morning, I think.
Yeah.
I think that was probably the Pariah days, and we'll get on to the Pariah days when we start talking about how Trash Mile formed. But yeah, it was basically just you get into that weekly routine of going to the park on certain days of the week. And then Ben turned up in his, was it BLB bikes?
Oh, yeah, BLB everything.
Yeah, your fixie kit.
Fixed gear, bibs. Oh, my cat's joined us.
Always one.
BLB bibs and jersey that was, looking back now, too big for me. But yeah, that was it. I didn't know anybody. I met a friend of ours, Jon, on Instagram, and it was kind of went and joined these boys for some laps around Regent's Park.
That was the days that it was just kind of a ramshackle group of people that met up and rode their bikes in Regents. It was great fun, actually. Ben May was around a lot then as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Also known now as TNN Ben. I think you've got him on as a guest at some point. But he was also very instrumental in the forming of Trash Mile, and it'd be remiss of us not to mention him on this podcast.
Shout out Ben May.
But I think, exactly. Shout out Ben May. Regent's Park is just a kind of, it's such a, I wouldn't say it's not unique because I think Australia's got something similar, New York's got something similar, but every kind of major city has got this one place that, for whatever reason, just seems to attract cyclists. And that was how I got into the road biking. I sort of realized that I missed having a group of people to cycle with. So I started talking to, they were called East London Fix. They don't exist anymore, unfortunately, but a lot of the guys are still around. You might, Owen Blandy's now the chef for EF Education.
Yep. Yeah.
But
big dude. He's the guy that's quite massive.
Yeah, he had a good old sprint on him back in the day.
Yeah,
he was an absolute weapon on a track bike back in the kind of fixed gear crit era of, Red Herc, White City crit, Minute crit, that sort of thing, Rad Race. But I remember turning up to Regent's Park on my single speed with bullhorn bars, Nike t-shirt and some chino shorts and running shoes, just absolutely terrified that I was going to be shunned forever. And those East London Fix guys were just so friendly. They were so kind of welcoming, inclusive. Owen said to me, well, I'm not from East London and I'm not on a fixed gear, I'm on a road bike. So, if anything, I don't fit in as much as you don't. So
that's nice.
Let's all just ride bikes together. And it was such a kind of, I think if they'd have been rude to me, then that probably would have put me off. But the fact that they were so welcoming, it was just kind of like, took me under their wing, brought me into the fold. And then the addiction to cycling starts and you very quickly fall off the wagon and spend all your money on bike parts.
Well, maybe with that point, we head to a break for section 2 and learn how you start a trash.
Welcome back, everyone. So, Ben, how did Trash Mile start?
So we said before, John and I met in Regent's Park on a Wednesday, fast laps on a Wednesday morning. We were, or John and various others, including, again, Ben May, were riding for Pariah Race Team. I believe that's right, isn't it, John? At that point?
That's the one.
Yeah. And I started riding with these guys. We had quite a lot, or have quite a lot in common. I think mine and John's especially background is very aligned, and kind of got to a point where, so a bit on me as well. I've a lot of my history is all kind of creating or starting to create brands and kind of community bits for the thing I'm into at the time. So when I was a kid, I had like a kind of skate brand where I used to make stickers and I used to do videos and things like this.
Nice.
With a couple of mates. And it was just like a bit of a dream of like, we wanted to basically do the things that people we were looking up to were doing. So yes, started doing stickers and skateboards and things like this. Then I got really into cars and I started a modified car club, which was really cool. But again, it was all about community. So we'd do events and meets, and we did merch and things like this. So it's kind of been something that I've always been really keen on like building communities and brands and various things like that. So when I met John and the others, I was aware that there wasn't really that many small cycle clubs in London. You had your classic like area cycle clubs, so Islington and Hackney and
Dynamo.
Dynamo. But it wasn't like, for me, it didn't feel that inviting being a newcomer to the scene. It was like you kind of had to buy kit and blah blah blah, and it wasn't that I didn't feel like it was that approachable. So I I started riding with these guys, and it's just like I basically just I'm always trying to come up with names for brands and things, and Trash Mile Cycle Club was one of these names. We used to do a lot of like just riding. There wasn't really at that point any training. We didn't really have structured training plans or anything like that. So these were kind of like, it was trash mile came from rides that didn't mean anything. You know, you went out, you did rides, and you clocked up miles, and you kind of, it was all for fun. So it was, I started hashtagging trash mile on Strava posts and things like this. Then there was an Instagram that came from that, Trash Mile Cycle Club, which was a bit of a weird, like, sort of meme account trying to find its way.
Yeah.
And
what kind of memes?
Bad one.
Yeah, how deep?
They weren't even like memes really. They were just kind of, I used to do a bunch of drawings and I'd put captions to them, and then if we saw some mad bike on the street, I'd take a photo of it and post it. And it was just like a hobby thing. It wasn't anything tied to my name, sort of thing. So
I think it sort of it tallied as well, didn't it, with a sort of, you know, so Pariah were based up north, and they started Pariah North racing team as well, and just that kind of geographical separation. There was less time for the sort of Pariah London team, so we were sort of thinking, oh well, we could do this. We could just do something like this. Why not? Let's just design our own kit, and sort of go from there. I think it helped that Ben May had ties with Rafa. That's how we got into their custom program.
Yeah.
Sort of quite early on in them starting that, and it all just aligned quite neatly, didn't it, Ben, with this idea of kind of trash mile becoming something sort of in its gestation period, and then us sort of moving away from Pariah at the same time, and just realizing that there was enough of us as a group of mates that we could just do it ourselves, which was a cool realization.
Yeah, we were all kind of aligned. You know, it was like we all wanted something that we could kind of throw everything into, and it was something we could call ours, kind of thing. So we started looking at designs that we were going to do with Rafa. Got some templates. It was all very exciting. Both John and I had quite a strong vision for how we wanted the kit to look. And so we were just bouncing off each other. And then John just sent over this. We spoke about, I mean, we could talk about this for the whole podcast, but we spoke about kind of weather reports and like just mad, like
old Japanese racing car liveries and, you know, all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
And we're both, John and I, are very we old emo kids. So like there was a lot of like metal influence in what we were kind of what we wanted to do, and then we just kind of, or John just sent over this pink pattern, and it was like, shit, like
that's it. Yeah, I did it on a lunch break at work.
So yeah, and then we basically rallied all of our mates, and it was like Trash Mile Cycle Club was kind of one thing, and then Trash Mile Race Team just was born out of that, and it was just like, that's it, that's what we're doing. We now race. I was thinking there was probably 6 of us to start with, maybe.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, we're going to ask about that actually. Like, obviously you started as kind of a collective, and NJ and I've talked about this with other people on other podcasts, but it's a bit of a cycling. You've always been a bit of a loner. I think people who are cyclists are, because it's this individual pursuit, right? And rightly or wrongly, you do it on your own, and then maybe you know, within your orbit comes somebody else, and you see them, and then you become friends, and then you go, hey, like, shit, like, let's just do our own thing, and then it progresses, right? It's iterative. But how did it go from being a group of friends riding, and you've got quite distinctive kit, so, you know, and it's a great kit as well, by the way. How did it then kind of develop into a race team? I know you've got some sponsors on board. How did you kind of go from being a group of friends to almost having, you know, professionalizing your approach to racing?
Yeah, I think a lot of it came from us just sort of taking it more seriously ourselves. So yeah, as you said, it started off as a group of mates sort of racing. There was no turbos, power meters, anything of that back then. No sort of training plans. It was just smashing it around Regent's Park 3 or 4 times a week, and then a long ride at the weekend. But then I think, as is just the way of any kind of sport, the more you do it, the more seriously you take it. The next thing there is to buy to improve your performance, and then it sort of moved away from being just a group of friends and started. People that we didn't necessarily know that well would come in. They'd be a friend of a friend. Oh, this person's really strong. We should get them on the team. And then we ended up, where we are sort of now, where I think there's 30 odd people on the racing team. And yeah, as you say, we've got sponsors and partners, which is really cool. And 24 is looking like our most exciting year yet. We've got some partners on board now who are, we think, equally committed to us as we are to them.
Okay.
And I think we've got some big things coming in 24, and we're really excited about it as well. And I think now we're sort of coming into our 4th year. We're sort of established enough. It sounds crazy to be saying that, but sort of established enough that people are actually interested in what we're doing. I think we're also trying to really push that inclusivity, welcoming, just come along. We'll start talking about sort of how you join and sort of the social rides a bit later on, but we just want it to be fun. You're just riding your bike at the end of the day, and it doesn't matter if you're Cat 1 and you've been racing for 10 years, or if you're we've got ex-pros that are sort of adjacent to the team or have been on the team in the past, which is super cool. But then we've also got people that have never raced a day before in their life, who are now sort of working their way up through Cat 4, Cat 3, Cat 2. It's just really cool to see, to be honest. It's sort of amazing that people are so invested in this thing that we started, because we didn't have a cycling club that we felt we all belonged to.
Yeah. And it's that keeping it fun is always it's always there. Kind of everything that we do, it's just but is it trash? There is more seriousness to it, but it's still got to be fun, because as soon as you start to lose that, it loses the essence of trash. And yeah, I think the when we first started the race team, we started doing Friday morning laps, and it was kind of one of the first, I'd say, slow chat laps in Regent's Park on a Friday morning, and we kind of just merged a bunch of people that would ride around Regent's Park, and they came and rode with us on a Friday morning, which now kind of turned into Coffee Club, Trash Mile Coffee Club. So yeah, it's always been that it has to be fun. Whatever we do has to be fun. The kit has to be fun. The events we do have to be fun.
Yeah, that's sort of where the social club came from. And sort of when we first started, we did sort of monthly long weekend rides, and they sort of, at the height of their popularity, they were having sort of 40, 50, 60 people turn up, which was really cool. It's slightly overwhelming for us, that sort of level of people wanting to be involved in it. And we suddenly really had to ramp up our oh, right, okay, we can't have 60 people on the road all in one group. We're going to have to split, take groups of 8 to 10 people at a time. But I think the general cycling club landscape has changed during COVID. There are now, you go out on a Friday morning, and at any one time there might be 4 or 5 sort of chat lap rides going on in Regent's Park now.
Yeah.
So we've sort of naturally tailed off a bit from the social club stuff, not because we want to, but because there are other cycling clubs out there who we think do those sort of social rides better than we do, because a lot of the members of the club are also in the team, and they're focusing on their racing, and a lot of them disappear to their pain caves in winter and sit on the turbo and just sort of sweat it out until February, March time and start racing again. And that's totally fine. That's as legit as the people that want to go out and do 200k in 3 degrees in Essex. It's all riding your bike at the end of the day. It just depends what you want to get out of it. But we seem to have moved more towards that sort of racing side of things. But the Friday mornings are still kind of sacred gospel, that we will keep our Friday mornings in Regent's Park nothing above 200 watts. You do 45 minutes of cycling, and then you get at least 2 coffees afterwards. Just proper kind of old school social cycling, and it's absolutely fantastic, and it's such an energizing way to start a Friday.
Yeah, we always say our like kind of tagline, and I'm going to screw this up, but it's like it's a great end to a week of training, or a great start to a weekend of riding. Like it's, you know, if you train all week, give yourself like a Friday morning to come and have a coffee and a chat with your mates, like, because otherwise it gets really lonely. Especially, you know, this time of year, no one's really I mean, some people are going out and doing big rides, but other than that, you don't really get to speak to your mates that much that are cycling other than on WhatsApp. So it's just one of those things. And like, we've still got people turning up who they wouldn't come to anything else that we do. You know, it's they turn up and they just want to roll around with us on a Friday morning, and that's cool.
Yeah, we find quite a few people that come to the Friday morning laps. They're people who have, you know, they've maybe been part of a cycling club in the past, and they've just moved to London and they're looking for someone to ride with. Or, you know, they used to race, and they used to be really into it, and they've kind of, you know, for whatever reason, they've sort of dropped off a bit from that intensity, but they still want to ride with people who, you know, it's sort of like a stepping stone to getting back into riding quickly.
Yeah.
And we also have people that just want to ride their bike, and like they're not interested in racing at all. They're not interested in going fast. They just want to turn up, you know, ride with some people on a Friday morning and then go for a coffee. It's absolutely fantastic. It's one of my sort of favorite bits of the week, I'd say. Friday morning laps.
I mean, speaking of which, right? So it sounds like the social club element. It's Friday mornings at Regents, but what about the sort of racing side? Is there a preferred level people have to be on? And how would someone, say, for example, I want to start racing for trash? How would I go about that?
So we have quite what we like to think of as quite a sort of democratic process to get into the team. There's a fundamental reality to the size of the team. There's a kind of peak number of people. You know, we're only a small group of people that have never done this before. It's not our job. You know, we've all got full-time jobs on the side. So it's worth acknowledging that there is a reality to how many people we can manage on the team. It's a lot of admin. Which is great, and we do it because we love it, but it's a lot of admin, and I think, you know, a lot of people don't see that, but it is constant. You know, every minute of every day there's WhatsApp group chats about where are we getting these helmets from, have you done the updated kit design, are we affiliated with BC again for this year. You know, there's a lot of stuff. So we had to put a process in place once we became sort of big enough that was becoming an issue. So, you know, generally it's the level that you join at is sort of irrelevant. We like to have a spread of people across different abilities. It's more about the attitude that one brings. You know, it's, if you want to join the race team, it's because you want to race your bike. So we have a kind of minimum race quota, and we encourage people to actively train, race, get involved in team group rides, and generally the intention is sort of turn up, do a couple of rides with us, or if it's in the middle of the season, come and do some races that we're also at, and come and chat to us before and after. And then we have someone who vouches for someone joining, and then we have a seconder, and those people, you know, generally what we'll do is we'll go for a lap session with that person, talk to them about what the team is, what our ethos is, what we want to see from someone joining the team, their sort of commitment back to trash. And yeah, that's sort of where we go from there, really.
Yeah, and you kind of, it's one of those things where, like, you know, if you don't want to race for trash is the wrong team. Like, we want people to want to race for Trash Mile, not just Trash Mile as a race team. I want to race. Let's race for trash, because it's not the right, you know, that brings the wrong kind of atmosphere to our, like, yeah, it's almost like, you know, you love putting Trash Mile kit on, like, you know, that's what you love doing, and that's why you want to race for Trash Mile. It's not because of like anything else. It's like, you know, Trash Mile is the team I want to race for, which is why the people that are in the race team are like, it's corny, but it's a family, you know, and it's like we have built this community. Yeah, that's what it's always been about, is like a really great community, like tight knit.
Yeah, like turning up to a race day with like 4 or 5 teammates, especially on days when there are like men's and women's races all on at the same day, which actually, you know, we won't get into this in this podcast, but it doesn't happen enough. But, you know, on those rare days where you've got like a women's race, then you've got a 3-4 or a 2-3, and then sort of a E1-2. You know, you can get pretty much everyone from the whole team to one of those races if you organise it far enough in advance. And that is like, it's such a cool, you know, all piling onto the train with your bikes, and like everyone supporting each other. It's such a great atmosphere. And I think, you know, we're in a really good place. We've got some really cool people on the team. I mean, everyone on the team is great. And yeah, it's just fantastic, really.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Sounds like Cam needs to find someone to vouch for him.
Yeah.
Mate, I dragged Harriet Kefford around. Shout out Harriet Kefford. I dragged her around the Isle of Wight.
She dropped all of us.
She dropped all of us.
Yeah.
We got to the Isle of Wight and she started doing 300 watts, and I was just on the back like, it's going to be a long day, and I can't do this. I can't do this. I'm going to.
Yeah, there's no team discussion of how we were gonna ride, and it was just like, I think Harriet just come off like multiple crits, so it was just like, it was a hard day for all of us.
Yeah, I've had a couple of sort of huge group rides that Harriet's come along as well, and there's always supposed to be sort of more than one woman on the group ride, but it always ends up just being Harriet and like 29 other guys on bikes, and she's just always dishing out the pain. So
shout out Harriet Kefford.
Yeah.
As you've just mentioned that the club's growing, with that, you'll have, I guess, more riders within the club. How do you implement safeguarding, Ben?
So we started a committee for the race team last year or the year before, which kind of handle all of the admin, many of the admins that we spoke about. In that committee, we've got, so we take any grievances to the committee members, and in that we've got a welfare officer, and Great. We kind of, it doesn't happen very often when there's problems. Like I said, we're all very close, so we can usually, we figure it out amongst ourselves, but we do have a welfare officer who will kind of break it up if it comes to it. But yeah, I mean, luckily we've not really got to that. We've not had to really, other than
no. But I think it's important to know, right?
Yeah,
definitely. Like you said, mate. And I think it's like they have it. Whereas what pro team is I have at NJ? Is it Ineos? They've got a no dickheads policy.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say something about DSM then.
Oh no. I don't want to commit slander on this podcast because this bit will go out. But I think that's important.
Yeah,
we've
got 30. Yeah, it's 100%. We've got nearly 30 people on the team. It can happen. People can get annoyed at all sorts of things. So you have to have that in place just in case. And also, most of the stuff we do is all over WhatsApp, and it's such a risky platform. Say something and it just doesn't come across right. So there's always a possibility for someone to get upset. Like I said, luckily it doesn't really happen. And if it did, we'd squash it.
I think the committee was a really important thing to start, and any kind of minor disagreements or grievances that people have had, we've always been able to deal with them sort of amicably and as a group of adults, which is sort of, at the end of the day, it's supposed to be fun. This isn't a second full-time job. It's supposed to be hanging out with your mates and riding your bikes. So we've never had a situation that we haven't been able to manage internally, and generally it's misunderstandings or miscommunications, and actually you just meet someone in real life and say, look, let's talk about this. It's all about that communication. Same with any kind of grievance or falling out, and it happens because especially when you've got a lot of passionate people all in one race team, there's emotions run high on race days. It's just one of these things that happens, and it's a reality of running any kind of social thing. You're going to have fallings out every now and then, but we feel like we've got quite a good process. And I guess, from a safeguarding point of view, we unfortunately can't accept anyone under the age of 18 at the moment, because it comes with all kinds of BC stipulations about safeguarding training, and you have to have specific insurances, and we're just not operating in that world at the moment, unfortunately. So although we'd love to develop young riders, because the kids out there these days are absolutely nailed on the bike. The amount of times I've been dropped in crits by a junior on junior gears, or lapped at a cross race by a 14-year-old on a bike that's older than them. But unfortunately, the reality of it is we can't at the moment. So it's all adults only, and as such, we manage to deal with it as adults.
So maybe speaking of which, future. I know you talked about some big things for 2024, and I don't want to scoop anybody's news, but could you give us some high level, maybe what's in the pipeline?
So we've done, the last couple of years, we've done a race called SummerSlam. That's a crit race. Last 2 years has been at Lee Valley. We aim to build on that every year. I think, as obviously we want it to be better for everybody every year. It's been massively targeted at bringing communities together, and by that I mean kind of the race community and the non-race community. There's never an opportunity, or there's very few opportunities for everybody to get together. Now,
even the non-cycling community as well, because Lee Valley's got good footfall. The amount of people that turn up to SummerSlam and go, "Oh, what's happening here? What's going on here?" Who aren't cyclists and don't understand it at all, but stay and watch. At least one race, maybe two, stay for the whole day. It's pretty cool.
So our SummerSlam is a day event. It's kind of from 12 o'clock till 5, really. And it's been, the first year was unreal, exceeded all our expectations to a point where we kind of didn't know really what to do with that.
The difficult second album.
So bigger and better for SummerSlam 24 is the first thing I'm really excited about. Obviously,
I mean, lessons learned from every SummerSlam that's come previously. I think, Ben, just before you move on quickly, and I can't remember exactly what the stat is, but it's something like the first SummerSlam, we had the biggest non-professional sort of women's lineup of any race in the UK.
That's amazing.
I think that's true to say. Someone might correct me on that.
We'll go with it. We'll go with it.
I think we had I think it was 50 women signed up to that race.
Incredible.
It was, we just haven't seen that in a crit.
I mean, especially for women cycling, especially for women cycling, when it's sometimes they can't even field individual races. So if you're Cat 1 and you're Cat 4 and you've just started racing, sometimes you end up doing the same event. 3-4 women might turn up to an event. So having 50 turn up to your event's incredible.
And the amount of women's race I've seen where there's 4 or 5 women racing it, and therefore they don't even get full BC points for the same level of effort. It's it's a shame, but we were so proud of that. And it was the same again. It was the same again this year. Just gone. I think we had some calendar clashes this year. There was a lot more racing on in 23 than there was in 22. So there were some pretty big races on at the same weekend. So we had and it was raining, whereas the first year it was kind of glorious sunshine all day. So there was a couple of things that were sort of out of our control. But it was still a great weekend. I think the first one was just such a unexpected success that we were so proud of. And the number of people that sort of came and told us that it was their favorite race that they'd done that year, and it was really touching, really touching. And that's the whole point of it, just to sort of be a fun day. Over in USA, they have USA crits, and you have people standing there with rims and sticks and sort of beer hand ups. We just wanted to bring some of that kind of party atmosphere to racing in the UK, because it can be a bit, you go and stand by the side of a track shivering whilst you're waiting for your race to start. You race, then you get on a train and go back home. So we just wanted to try and use that, the fact that we're in central London and we've got that opportunity to have an accessible race for people to come and spectate. That was as much of it. It's trying to bring that atmosphere to the racing scene in the UK.
And all of our sponsors were like super generous. Like, they kind of, it was just amazing to see everybody come together and be like as excited about this thing as we were. Last year, one of my neighbors turned up. He was like, saw me piling beers into the car, and he was just like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, well, we're putting on a race at Lee Valley," and he rode down with his kids. So it's just that kind of thing, seeing just people turn up that you're like, wow, like, you're here and you don't need to be, but you're here because you want to be, and that's really lovely.
Yeah,
about that,
and our partners, our sort of sponsors and partners allowed us to do some cool stuff as well. Like, we didn't want it to all just be about who's the first person across the line. So we had like kind of most trashy bike award, and kind of I remember the first year there was this really young guy that did both of the men's races, and just like absolutely threw himself into it, bike with mismatched wheels, baggy kit, and he just went out there and full send in both of these races. So we gave him a little package. It was just like a sort of best attitude award.
I love that.
Giving prizes to anyone that crashes, just to kind of like soften, not to encourage them.
Did include some first aid kits from Pop, which were quite good. But
just like trying to encourage people to turn up and have fun, really. And it's not all about who's got the highest FTP or the most aero bike, or who can afford to have a coach that makes them faster than everyone else. We just wanted to try and make it like just a super fun day for everyone involved.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Before we end this section, there's one question we have to ask you. When we were setting up this podcast, Ben sent us a picture of the two of you.
Thoughts?
Which we'll put on screen for any video viewers. Do you guys want to explain the picture to the audio listeners? And
so we had
how it came.
We had an end of season or end of my season event a few weekends ago, which was a double hill climb event in Kent. And we rode there. So it's we're both, John and I are in East London, so it's a long ride out to Kent anyway. We've got big heavy backpacks on because we didn't really know what we were doing. Quite happy to say. And so first one, we both sent it. I think we burnt all our matches in that first hill climb. Honestly, the most incredible atmosphere I think I've ever experienced in a race.
What was the hill?
It was York's Hill, and White Lane.
Yeah,
I know White Lane,
and it was like a 65k ride out there.
Yeah,
2.5 with a backpack on. But yeah, it was. I mean, we should probably shout out our frenemies here, Albion Racing. They called us out, and we did a kind of cycling hill climb Ashes. They won it this year, but we're going to take it back off them next year. We start training now. So if you get any of the Albion lot on, you can tell them we said that.
Yeah. So we finished the first climb. I think John went before me, and then I finished, and we rode back round to kind of where all the bikes were. Saw John sat on the floor, so I needed to get off my feet. I get quite bad cramp. I suffer with cramp, and I needed to get off my feet and elevate my feet. So naturally, that's what I lay on the floor, elevated my feet, and then someone, probably one of the guys from Albion, probably.
It was indeed one of the guys from Albion.
Taking advantage of that situation.
You were vulnerable.
In our weakest moment, they snapped that glorious picture of us. But I mean, let's not beat around the bush. It looks like Ben's just given birth to me. So a slightly odd one.
Yeah, I mean, like, it was. You can see the smile on her face. Like, you know, it was a very good day. I've not been the same since, but it was like props to the guys that do the full season of hill climbs, because that was brutal.
Catford and Bex CCs, I believe.
Yeah, that was good. But yeah, that's the story behind that, really. Kind of two broken 30-something-year-old men.
We
should know better.
Yeah,
and to get through this pain that we were feeling.
Yeah, I remember going up Yorks Hill, not really knowing the delight that you get at the top of it. Is it what, 25%? So
yeah,
I full sent it at the bottom, and then I was just like max heart rate halfway up, and it seemed to be like getting steeper and steeper, and then go. I don't know when you did it, but when I did it, it was like in autumn, so it was just like pretty much like mud everywhere and back wheel slipping, and it was just like the worst experience of my life.
Yeah, you have to sit down. If you stand up, your back wheel will slip under power. So yeah, you have to sit down the whole way up.
It's like Swains Lane on steroids.
Yeah.
And we did. So a couple of weekends before, we did some Swains efforts just to try and, I don't know what we were thinking. Like, you know, oh yeah, we'll do one Swains effort and we'll be ready for double hill climb. But yeah, like John said, it's like a 65-ish 70k ride out to there.
And it's not flat, is it? You pretty much did hell of the Ashdowns, didn't you?
Yeah, and the Albions were breaking us from the start. Like they just rolled in from Crystal Palace, and you know, it was like we've just done 40k or something already. And on the start line, before we'd even started going, I was getting cramp in my legs. So the first 100 meters of that, I was cramping. So it's just like, this isn't happening. Yeah, but fought through it, got up the climb, and then cramps at the top. So I was like, that's all right. I can live with that. But
do you know what? If you've never done a hill climb, if you've never done a competitive hill climb, again, it's another one of those curiously British cycling niches. But go and have a go, because it's a unique form of torture, but they are really good fun. And you know, there was people lining the both sides of the road, cowbells. You know, it's the closest you'll come to feeling like a pro riding up Fonty.
Yeah,
it's very, very cool.
Definitely.
Well, with that in mind, maybe let's head to the Q&A.
Welcome back, everyone. We are into the quick Q&A, but sometimes it ain't that quick. So first up, lads, what is more pro, Richmond or Regents? I think I know what the answer is, but
Regents.
Put us out of our misery.
Definitely Regents.
Yeah,
Who cares about the around Richmond?
I was thinking about this today, actually. Regents is like London Pro. There's nothing that beats Regents. However, if you're really thinking about it, Richmond realistically is better. I mean, it's got a little bit more going for it in Richmond, but Regents is like where everything was born.
And I'm going to ask a quick question. Have you two ever worn a skin suit to Regents for hot laps?
Yes.
But only because I was racing in the evening, not trying to.
Well, so you wore the skin suit underneath your suit all day? Is that what you're saying?
No, Ben in a suit. No, he's a hipster picture framer. He probably doesn't even own a suit.
Hey, less of that. I've suits, but no, skin suit and aero socks to Wednesday morning laps, and then actually we didn't even end up racing because it chucked it down. That was, you know, me and John were supposed to race and we didn't end up doing it, so it's just skin suit laps. It's
fair.
But in the spirit of you asking that question, yes, I have worn a skin suit specifically to go to fast laps before. no shame.
This is
It's a road suit. It's got pockets on it, so
this
it's all good.
this is a skin suit friendly podcast. If we ever do any kit, which work in progress, the first thing we will be doing is only be doing is skin suits.
It's a safe space for skin suits. Hey, if they've got pockets, there's no reason not to wear one of those.
More sustainable. That's what we'll go with. More sustainable.
Our last skin suit had the classic 3 pockets on the back, so it's just the same as wearing a jersey.
Yeah. So when you're padding around in your skin suits, where are you? Favorite cycling cafe? Where are you going?
So Via in Coldrops Yard is where we end our Friday morning laps. I mean, it's just got they've got some mad stuff in there. You know, they've got the Lotus sort of Boardman track bike at the moment. They've got the recent Hope Lotus collaboration track bike.
Shout out Nick.
Got some absolutely crazy stuff in there. Yeah, shout out Nick and all the other people that work there as well. And so it's just a great little space. You know, especially in winter when it's cold, you can get 50, 60 bikes in there. So even if more than one group ride ends at Via, you know, there's always space for everyone. I mean, they've also got Standard in there, and I've got a very soft spot for Standard.
This is a
Standard as well.
This is a Standard safe podcast too. I'm just going to say that.
Bros.
So yeah, I always like going in there and seeing the latest Standards that they've got on display. So, and also we have done a few rides with the guys from Standard. So Tom and Isaac come over, and when they come over, sort of Via is our base.
Nice.
So it's cool. It's cool. Nice. It's a cool little space to have.
So yeah, we're very happy that they opened and are very accommodating. And then also Long and Short in Walthamstow, they kind of started our. They were almost like our clubhouse when we were doing group rides out to Essex. So big shout out to Long and Short because they're great and their coffee is unreal. Probably some of the best coffee I've ever tasted. So big shout out to Long and Short.
Yeah, nice. Jeremy's a cool guy as well. The guy that runs it, super friendly. Just really wants to have a chat. So yeah.
Is that the one next to the station?
Yeah, next to St James Street Station.
I've been there.
Yeah.
I went there before I got married. It's brilliant.
Yeah, amazing. Brownies are banging. They don't make them, but they sell them. They're banging. And the coffee, honestly, like incredible.
And they do beer as well. So if you get back from your ride and you want to have a beer, you can have a beer there too.
Yeah.
Okay, it's for everyone. What are the coffee orders?
Oat flat white.
It depends where we are from you. Yeah.
Sorry, you were just cycling. Did you drink oat flat white?
Yeah. Oat flat white is the standard. Talking of, we've spoken about quickly of like your cafe likes, but what are your cycling dislikes? What riles you up?
Great segue.
12-speed group sets, controversial, but I don't think anyone needs that extra single gear really. We're all just caught up in the cycle. Disc brakes, even though I've got disc brakes on 2 of my bikes. What else? I mean, the rim brake ones work fine as well. Needlessly complicated systems, so bikes that have got like integrated cabling, but it's got like 4 spaces that all split in different ways and your hoses kink, all that sort of stuff. No thank you. Ben, you got any? I can keep going.
I mean, I'm just happy listening to you. I'm not that opinionated on these. I'm like, you do you. I'm not. There's certain things I'm not going to see on my bike, but yeah, I mean, colourful bar tape, absolutely no for me, apart from white or black.
White's pro.
Yeah, white's pro. It's not in
big budget.
I got some white bar tape on at the moment, and it's just me.
And how's that gone for you, Ben? Yeah,
embarrassing. Do you know what? The thing that really gets me, and this is a fairly new thing, is the cycling tan lines. That's not a flex for me. I've lockdown killed. Like honestly, this is for me. I'm like I'm not trying to keep these tan lines alive. I'm trying to get rid. I've ruined my legs in lockdown by the cultivating of tan lines, and I'm like, every time I go on holiday, I'm like, this is not cool. So things like that. Cultivating tan lines, absolutely no for me.
Are we fake tanning them away? You know,
No,
in the interim.
Yeah, it's not a bad shout. And wife's got enough fake tan.
I've got one to add to that, Ben, actually. And this is something that I'm really torn about this one because it looks much better when you're on the bike, but it looks terrible when you're not on the bike. Shave legs. I think when you in summer,
not having
when
that.
you're wearing normal, no, on bike, I fully rate shave legs, but when you're wearing normal clothes and you've got absolutely hairless legs, it's quite a weird look, and everyone looks at you. So
see, I disagree with you there, but that's it. That's fine. You can have that. That's fine. That's one. What about another one? Cafe stops mid-ride. No one needs that unless it's like a 200k ride. Cafe stops mid-ride. It's not for me. I'd rather get back, get a coffee and me. See you later. I'm going home.
I feel the same. I feel the same way. I've now got a small child. I'm not really into the. It's not to say I'm not like I don't spend time on my bike, but I'm not like let's go out for a ride, have a little coffee. Unless I will caveat that, unless it's a specific coffee ride, and sometimes I do that with my mate Cam. Shout out Canadian Cam. It's sometimes it's like the 3-stop strategy. So it's 60k, 3 coffees, but I know what I'm getting myself in for.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
So the opposite of that is the no faff club, where you have to you've got to try and keep the gap between the elapsed time and the moving time as small as is physically possible. But those rides are proper antisocial. Like, you don't say hello when you get there. You don't say goodbye when you leave. It's just a proper no faff. Get in and out. In and out, yeah.
So
that's sort of depths of winter rides.
Sorry about that.
End of a ride,
absolutely.
Go on.
End of a ride, absolutely. Stop for a coffee, whatever, beer, whatever. But mid-ride, I'm not there for it.
So speaking of perhaps controversial hot takes, as well as being a skin suit and aerosock, welcoming place, this podcast, we're also advocates for the white bib shorts. I think the first time I met you, Jon, I was actually wearing white bib shorts.
Yes, you were.
So, thoughts?
Right. Yeah.
I think if you are Mathieu van der Poel or Remco Evenepoel, then
Remco's overrated.
Fill your boots. Oh, okay. Well, I'm not going to get into that, but I think if you are one of those people and you can have a new pair of white bib shorts every single time you wear them, then absolutely fill your boots. The other thing I would say is white kit in a cyclocross race. Very cool.
Right.
If it ends up covered in mud at the end of it, then you've absolutely nailed that. Anyone that wears white shoes, white socks, white kit in a cyclocross race is absolutely killing it as far as I'm concerned.
We're not advocating fast fashion or anything, but the first ride, souplesse. Anything after that, chuck them in the bin. Not having it. Or use them on the turbo. It depends where they're from as well. It depends if they're like team kit or I don't know, you're a champ, banging, like absolutely love it. If they're from, I don't know, you bought them in some sale on
an AliExpress.
Online.
Yeah. Can you buy yours Alibaba, Cam?
That's fine.
Fake news.
Yeah, don't mind some AliExpress, but yeah, I'm not sure about.
So here we go. Why don't we say this? I think you have to earn your white bibs. It's like the rainbow stripes.
Smart.
You don't get them unless you've earned them.
How would you earn them in for Regents? How would you earn wearing white bibs?
KOM. Only the person with the QOM is allowed to wear white bibs.
We've gone from white bibs now onto kits. From the London scene, is there any kits that I guess stand out that apart from your own you think look quite nice? And then from a historical point of view, is there any kits through cycling that I guess inspire you, which you'd still rep today?
I mean, let's be honest, we're basically a rip-off of EF. So I think it would be a challenge not to mention those guys. Although we do think there might have been a sort of genuine reverse influence on one of their sort of later kits, because, you know, we had that tie with Owen Blandy. We do know that there is actually a trash mask sticker under the hand dryer in the toilets of the EF headquarters, so
Not blaming
they
Owen.
know who we are. So some sort of guerrilla influence there.
Naturally.
There's a team.
Sorry.
There's a team called BTC who, unfortunately, I don't think they even really exist anymore. But their kit was super beautiful. We sort of were good friends with the guy who sort of set that up and ran it, and he designed the kit himself. And it was all based on sort of an old Chinese form of painting, and just the story behind it. And I remember seeing the kind of pitch deck that he put together and the sort of thought process that went behind it. It was so meticulous. Really rated that kit. Ben, I don't know if you've got any others you want.
I mean, we didn't really take. Well, from my point of view, it wasn't really taking a lot of influence from cycling kits. You know, it's like we obviously EF. We loved everything the EF were doing, so it was naturally we kind of took like hints of that. But it was all from, you know, from where John and I have come from, you know, like band t-shirts and like car decals and livery and so it was almost like we kind of pulled influences from all over the place, but tried to stay away from the cycling kit. To be honest, one of the reasons that we started Trash Mile is because we couldn't find anybody that we liked their kit. So it was like, who do we race for? Well, there's not that much decent kit out there, so let's do it ourselves. Like, that was really kind of where one of the reasons we started Trash Mile. But yeah, like now you see all sorts of awesome kit, like our good friends at Standard, their kit, like awesome, super simple. Love everything that they do. So we, you know, there's might be something coming out from Trash Mile very soon. And
there's your scoop.
Yeah. From those, you know, those people who are influencing, I feel, the cycling industry and kind of 100%. Especially the communities. And
I think it was like trying to bring some of that, like I've recently been rewatching old BMX edits on YouTube, and it's like getting me as pumped about going riding as rewatching a stage of the Tour de France. You know, it's all riding bikes, and it's a totally different way of doing it, but the bike handling and the sort of flow that they bring to riding a bike, and just that kind of bringing some of those outside influences in, like, you know, 90s British touring cars and you know, Thrasher magazine, and like Ben said, band t-shirts, death metal logos, just kind of really tattoo culture, just bringing everything into that kind of. People also said that the jersey looked like Lady Gaga's meat dress.
Wasn't an influence, but I'll take it.
You know, we'll take that one as well. So, influenced by Lady Gaga and her bacon dress.
That's going on the socials.
But also just a big shout out to the Intermarché Wanty Circus kit as well. I think all cycling kits should have more fluoro yellow on it.
Do you know, I saw there's a great tweet that they put out, and they said that our team kit has more sponsors on it than Liz Truss spent in office.
Nice. I mean,
fantastic. But all those Euro kits are fantastic. You know, the sort of pro Conti teams where just to survive, they've got all those logos on their kit, and it's such a kind of, you know, cycling is a hard sport. It is hard grind. So every one of those sponsors is hard won. So displaying them on the jersey almost is like a kind of, you know, Bardiani's kit, and just those what's the other one, the purple one, it's like Aubergine colours, it Corotec. You know, I love all of those kits. They're so much more adventurous than the pro team kits, which are just all blue. I mean, actually quite rate the Lidl Trek kit recently, because at least they did something different. And like Uno X, you know, a slightly controversial one, I know, but I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, taking it back. Also looking at all of the old classic kits that we used to watch, like, yeah, in Armstrong's days. Like they were all just so interesting. Like and it's just such a shame that isn't around as much anymore.
Yeah,
I've got a
Yeah,
credit.
I mean, let's all just.
I've got a Credit Agricole jersey back there, and
Yeah,
I think I said it on our intro podcast, but I got my mum to make me a Credit Agricole T-shirt, right? And I thought it was great.
Very cool.
And then no, it's not cool, because when I then started working in the city, I realized that I was displaying the logo of France's 4th biggest commercial bank.
But isn't that like one of the best things about cycling? It's like you go to sort of continental Europe and all of these logos that you only really know of because you hear the commentators talking about them. It's just a normal shop out there, or a supermarket, or a bank, or something like that.
Yeah.
We only hear it in cycling.
Yeah, we just fit some new flooring in the shop, and it's Quickstep. So it's Quickstep plastered all over the shop, and it's just like, oh shit, yeah, that's not just a race spot, a team sponsor, that.
Yeah, and that means nothing to anyone that's not a cyclist, and they just cannot understand why anyone would be excited about that.
Taking photos of it.
Yeah, it's a flooring brand. Well, Bora Hansgrohe, yeah, they make showers.
Yeah.
You just can't get excited about it at all.
So this is a mainly, NJ and I are a big fan of the classics, I'd say, and we always ask this, and we kind of said it to a lot of people over WhatsApp, and we said it to you guys about Pints and Pavé, our event to close off the podcast on the last weekend of March, the Tour of Flanders weekend. So we'll ask this: what are you guys? Are you cobbles, mountains, maybe riding and viewing? What's your view there?
It's such a difficult one, that, isn't it? Because they're both so exciting in their own way. I think if it's, if you're kind of deep in the pain cave on the turbo and you're watching the last hour of a tour stage, then there is nothing better than a real sort of close finish up a mountain stage to sort of keep up that momentum. But also at the same time, I mean, Paris-Roubaix is just absolutely insane, isn't it?
Yeah, for me, like riding mountains, easy, no question about it. Watching people on cobbles is another, like, it doesn't compete. I love watching the mountain stages. I think they're great, and you can really see how powerful people are. But watching people smash over cobbles is, for me, is just like, it's bonkers. I don't want to do that. I love watching people do it. I don't want to do it.
It looks inherently wrong, doesn't it, to be riding a road bike on the sort of stuff that they're riding them over. But fair play to them. I mean, when Christophe Laporte's wheel exploded a couple of years back and he managed to hold it upright, unbelievable.
Incredible. There's so much pain in their faces when they're on the cobbles, and I don't feel like there's quite as much pain on the mountains, So.
Oh, I'm not sure. I might disagree with you there, but I take your point.
If you really look at it, like, there's not the same amount of pain on someone on a mountain stage, at least not the people who are on TV, because they're kind of, that's what they're good at. Whereas everybody's on the cobbles, and it's like, no one's enjoying that.
That's true. I also think there's something quite exciting about the classics, because the tour is its own thing, and team tactics comes into it, and there is a bit of kind of, the team with the biggest budget wins, or you get into these super teams, whereas the classics is just a kind of really bloody hard race, and everyone is suffering, and the strongest person on the day is the winner, or the person that can sort of float over the cobbles. Yeah, I mean, luckily we don't have to choose, do we? Because we can watch all of them.
For now.
Well, yeah, RIP.
GCN Plus.
GCN Plus.
Well,
whilst we're talking about RIPs, just to go back to the kit question quickly, can we just do a quick
we can edit this in.
Of RIP for the brown bib shorts?
Fresh off the press, isn't it?
Such a shame. What have they done? That was like part of their more makeup. Campy, no more brown bib shorts. I mean, it's a sad day for pro cycling.
I still stand by, though. Nobody ever really liked the brown until like this year. I remember sitting with a bunch of guys in my living room, being like, those brown shorts, I rate them. And most people were like, brown, gross.
Yeah.
People's opinions have changed in the last year, and I stand by.
As normal, as normal.
Yeah, well, certain.
Well,
yeah,
but
guys,
yeah, sad day.
yeah, it's a sad day.
Well, guys, thank you both so much for being on our podcast. It's been really great to get to know you both a lot better. We'll hopefully see you at Pints and Pave end of March. Before we go, where can people find you? What's next for Trash Bomb? So
Instagram, obviously, at trash_RT for the race team, and trashmile.cycleclub for the cycle club.
That's where we'll post all of our sort of stories and things about rides that we're doing and races that we've done and are or doing. There's also a Strava page for the cycle club, and we will put up any rides that we're doing on there. We don't have a website because we were told very early on that Instagram reaches much more people and requires much less maintenance. So
say that.
I don't do any of the socials, so I can sit here and sit here and say it doesn't take any work.
Yeah, it's easy. Instagram, easy. Instagram's easy. It's effortless. You get loads from it. Love it.
You love it.
Well, Ben, John, thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
All right.